Dealing with the loss of a loved one to Alzheimer's is traumatic enough, but meeting the spiralling costs of care for that person can be overwhelming. Now, a Hampshire man is setting up a petition calling for a parliamentary debate on the issue. Peter McManus had to find nearly £400,000 to pay for the care of his late wife, Margaret. Ultimately, he had to sell his home. Chrissy Sturt has been to meet him.
We met at Oxford, where we were both undergraduates in the early 60s. 3 years later, we got married and started a family.
In her 60s, Margaret began to lose her memory.
She went for a brain scan, and that confirmed that, in fact, she did have Alzheimer's.
Margaret went into a home. It cost £4,000 a month. Repeated assessments always gave the same answer. Margaret was said to need social care, not medical care, meaning Peter was the one who had to pay.
So she lacked mobility, she was doubly incontinent, as is usual with Alzheimer's. All this time, of course, she had to be fed. She couldn't do anything for herself. She couldn't talk. This whole range of symptoms, which are fairly typical of advanced Alzheimer's, despite having all those, she still wasn't considered to have a primary medical need.
No one is denying the system is unfair. In 2011, the government's Dillnot Commission said there should be a £72,000 cap on care costs. These measures would have shielded around 100,000 older people from large bills, especially those with complex care needs. But in the face of huge costs, the government has delayed bringing in the changes until 2020.
She was in care in total for just under 8 years. And the total bill ended up just under £400,000.
Today, Peter launched an online petition in the hope of forcing a parliamentary debate on the issue. It's something that the Alzheimer's Society also says is deeply unfair.
You know, the strain of having a wife or a husband or a mother or a father with Alzheimer's is a terrific strain in itself. Add to that the strain of wondering how on earth you're ever going to cope with paying up to £50,000 each year. I just think that's unsupportable.
Well, a little earlier, Chrissy Sturt joined me to look further into the questions raised by all this. I started by asking if Peter having to pay a huge amount to cover his wife's care is an extreme example.
Laura, it's actually becoming more common. It costs up to £1,500 a week to keep somebody with dementia in a care home. So you can see how those costs can quickly rise. And the better care somebody is receiving, the longer they're likely to live, meaning that families end up paying out much longer than perhaps they first anticipated. Now, the Alzheimer's Society has told us that they're very worried about this. They've heard of lots of similar cases. They say no one should have to spend everything they have for their care. The proposals made by the government-backed Dillnot Commission have fallen by the wayside. It is essential that the government must now show leadership and provide much needed new money alongside working to create long-lasting plans which are fair for people with dementia.
And Chrissy, is there any help that people can get?
Yes, today we've spoken to financial advisors who specialise in helping people meet elderly care costs. They've told us that it is possible to purchase a care fee payment plan which comes with certain tax breaks and makes meeting these fees more manageable. But ultimately, ministers are going to have to look again at the recommendations of the Dillnot Commission. They involve big sums of money, £6 billion over 5 years, huge sums of money, daunting for any government.
Indeed. Chrissy, thank you very much.